If you've ever received a grant or even imagined receiving one, that moment is real. The award arrives, the excitement is genuine, and then very quickly, a very practical question appears. What exactly can I spend this money on? That question catches far too many organizations off guard, not because they intend to misuse funds, but because nobody ever explained the rules clearly. And that's exactly what we're going to do today. In this video, we're going to walk you through the most common allowable expense categories in grant funding, from what they are, what counts, and what doesn't, and how to document everything correctly so that by the end, you should approach your grant budget with confidence instead of anxiety. Because the truth is, understanding allowable expenses protects your church, it protects the relationship that you have with funders, it protects the community that you're trying to serve. And so knowing what you can spend and how to document it is not a burden, it's stewardship. And stewardship is something the church already understands. All right, before we talk about specific expenses, we need to establish the foundation. There are 4 principles that determine whether any grant expense is allowable, no matter the funder, no matter the program, and certainly no matter the dollar amount. Memorize these because they guide every budget decision. Rule 1, reasonable. The cost must reflect what a prudent person considers fair, not extravagant, not inflated. If you could justify it to a skeptical auditor, then it's probably reasonable. However, if it would raise eyebrows, then you need to reconsider. 2, necessary. The expense must be required to carry out the program. That means nice to have is not the standard. The standard is needed to deliver the program as described. And if the program could run equally well without that expense, it may not be necessary. Rule 3, allocable. The expense must directly benefit the grant funding. If the cost is shared between multiple programs, only the portion that benefits the grant program can be changed to the grant. Shared costs require documented allocation. Rule 4, documented. Every expense must have documentation, receipts, invoices, timesheets, and contracts. If there's no documentation, there is no reimbursement. This rule is a non-negotiable. Whenever you're unsure about a cost, ask for questions. Is it reasonable? Is it necessary? Is it allocable to the program? And can I document it? If the answer is yes to all 4, then you're on solid ground. In most grants, people are your largest expense and your most important investments. Category 1, personnel. Personnel includes salaries and wages for staff who work directly on the grant program. Some examples include program coordinators, youth program facilitators, case managers, or food pantry managers. But here's a key rule. You can only charge the grant for the actual percentage of time that employee spends on the program. If someone split their time, you must track it. This is done through time and effort reports. These are timesheets that show hours spent on grant activities. These documents are frequently reviewed during grant audits. Category 2, fringe benefits. Fringe benefits include health insurance, retirement contributions, Social Security, and workers' compensation. These costs are allowable when they follow your organization's normal benefit policy. The most common method is calculating a fringe rate percentage. For example, if benefits equal 22% of salary, that same percentage applies to grant-funded wages. Document the calculation and keep it on file. Category 3, contractual services. Contractual services are payments to independent contractors or consultants. These are people who contribute to the program but aren't employees. Examples would include guest speakers, counselors, graphic designers, program evaluators, or translation services. Every contractor must have a written agreement. The contract should include their scope of work, their rate of pay, and expected deliverables. In one important warning, misclassifying employees as contractors can create serious compliance problems. If someone works regular hours, uses your equipment, and is supervised by your staff, then they are probably an employee. When in doubt, consult an accountant or an HR professional. The second group of expenses are the cost of delivering the program itself. These are often the most intuitive costs. Category 4, supplies. Supplies are consumable items used in the program. They are usually lower cost items with a short useful life. Here's some examples. Food pantry supplies, hygiene kits, curriculum materials, art supplies for youth programs, printed educational materials, and program-related office supplies. You're going to want to keep the receipts and organize them by grant and by date. For high-volume programs like food distribution, an inventory log can be very, very helpful. Category 5, travel. Travel costs must be directly connected to the program. Here's some examples. Mileage for home visits, fuel for delivery vehicles, transit passes for participants, or travel required grant trainings. Mileage reimbursements should follow the IRS standard rate. Out-of-town travel requires extra care. Airfare and hotels are often closely scrutinized by funders. So, always verify that the travel is allowed and directly related to the program. Category 6, equipment. Equipment refers to items with a longer useful life and higher costs. Here's some examples. Laptops for program coordinators, a refrigerator for food pantries, training room projectors, vocational training tools, or specialized medical equipment. Equipment and purchases often require an inventory log. This log should include your description, serial numbers, purchase dates, costs, location, and the conditions. All right, our third category is where many churches experience confusion: operational and overhead costs. These are legitimate expenses, but they require careful documentation. Category 7, facilities. Facility costs include utilities, maintenance, janitorial services, or rental costs for program space. But when a church uses its own building, costs must be based on actual expenses, not estimates, and not commercial rent. For example, if your building is mortgage-free, you cannot simply charge rent, but you can charge a proportional share of utilities and maintenance costs. Calculate carefully and make sure you document the method. Category 8, communications. Technology and communication costs must be allocated. Examples include phone plans, internet services, software subscriptions, video conferencing platforms, printing, and postage. You cannot charge the grant for your entire phone or internet bill, only the portion used for the grant program. Document how you calculated it. Category 9, training. Training expenses are allowable when they relate directly to the program delivery. Examples for that would include first aid certifications, trauma-informed care training, food safety certifications, grant compliance training, or relevant conferences. The key test is simple. Does this training directly improve the program? If yes, it may be allowable. Okay, let's talk about overhead. This is one of the most misunderstood topics in grant budgeting. Ended costs are expenses that support the organization but aren't tied to a single program. Here's some examples: executive leadership, bookkeeping, liability insurance, or administrative support. Many grants allow organizations to recover a portion of these costs. Some federal grants allow a 10% de minimis rate. That means you can add 10% of direct program costs to cover overhead. Some organizations also negotiate formal indirect cost rates, and some funders allow specific administrative costs to be budgeted directly. But one important reminder, not budgeting overhead does not make your application stronger. It simply makes your organization financially fragile. Now let's talk briefly about expenses that are not allowed. Some examples often include religious worship services, devotional materials, Bibles or prayer gatherings funded by non-faith grants, fundraising activities, donor events, alcohol purchases, or expenses outside the grant time period. Another serious issue is commingling funds. This means using grant money for non-grant activities, even temporarily. This is one of the most serious compliance violations. Always track grant funds separately. Okay, check this out. Documentation is your best protection. For every grant expense, you should have receipts or invoices, proof of payments, a clear connection to the grant program, timesheets for personal costs, contracts for consultants, mileage logs for travel, and inventory records for equipment. Create a simple system, label everything, date everything, and store it in a dedicated grant folder. A receipt you cannot find is a cost you cannot claim. Sometimes programs change, costs shift, and needs evolve. When that happens, don't simply move money between categories. Communicate with your funders. Most grants allow budget modifications. Small adjustments may not require approval. However, larger changes usually do. The key principle is simple. Communicate early, communicate clearly, and always communicate in writing. All right, let's go back to the moment we started with. A pastor holding a grant check and wondering what comes next. That check represents more than money. It represents trust. A funder looked at your church and believed in the work that you're doing. Spending grant funds well honors that trust. It opens the door for future funding, and it strengthens the impact of your ministry. Know what is allowable. Document everything. Communicate with your funder and steward every dollar carefully, because stewardship is something that churches already know to do.